WCNC Charlotte. This is Flashpoint, where power and politics collide and the tough questions get asked and answered.
Thanks for joining us here on Flashpoint. I'm Ben Thompson. Ask any local leader and they will tell you affordable housing is one of the most pressing and difficult to solve issues here in Charlotte. Just this past week, City Council revisited zoning laws. They're looking to increase housing density, think duplexes and triplexes, in place of single-family homes. It could be really key for a city bursting at the seams. This morning, two experts looking to make housing more affordable here in North Carolina. We are joined now by Tesho Akindele. He's a development analyst over at Camp North End. He's also a really interesting person to follow on Twitter, now known as X. Always got some hot takes that make you think. Thanks for coming on, Tesho. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'll tell you what, my wife will be laughing so hard that you said follow me on Twitter right now. Can't wait to take that one back home.
So I assume she's not a fan?
You know, it's a love-hate relationship.
I understand. It is for all of us, I think. Yeah. Before we get to the development part, I do want to sort of touch on, a lot of people might know you because you were a professional soccer player. How did you get from that to urbanism?
Yeah, honestly, my whole life I played soccer, and I was, that was what I would dedicate my entire life to. And then by the time I started to get 28, 29, I knew my professional soccer career was coming to an end. I started looking around and thinking, well, what am I interested in doing with the rest of my life? And I was interested in, personal finance, affordable housing, education. I had two young kids at the time, and I ended up meeting a developer in Orlando who kind of talked about urban development, building infill neighborhoods, walkable neighborhoods, and just kind of the knock-on effects on, public health, public safety, walkability, finances, all that. And I really fell in love with the idea of building better neighborhoods. And here I am now working at Camp North End, where we're literally taking an old factory and building a better neighborhood out of it.
It strikes me a lot of people watching might have not even thought about all the things you just said, but they live it in their daily lives, whether they know it or not. This past week, City Council, a few members revisiting the Unified Development Ordinance, basically a set of zoning laws they passed a year or so ago. They want to make duplexes and triplexes more common. Is that essential for a city booming like Charlotte right now?
Yeah, it's 100% essential. I mean, if you look at, for example, let's look at a neighborhood like Dilworth, Charlotte's first suburb, right? Dilworth was built 100 years ago. And basically, most of the population hasn't changed because you're only allowed to build single family homes in that neighborhood, even though the demand to live close to the city of Charlotte has changed a lot in 100 years. So it just makes sense, especially the closer you are to the city, it makes a ton of sense to have looser development standards where you're able to build duplexes, triplexes by right, and even some things bigger than that on some more commercial corridors.
As I said, this is more complicated than I think people realize. They think in their mind, oh, I want my single house on a plot of land. Not that that's a bad thing, and I want to say nobody's banning that. But why does that sort of run counter to the density argument, and what does that get us?
Yeah, first, like you said, that's fine. Nobody's trying to ban single family houses anywhere. I feel like that's a misconception out there. Single family houses are totally fine, but if you look at it from a housing affordability standpoint, with housing, there's the land cost and there's the cost of building the house. So in Dilworth, for example, the land might cost $400,000 or $500,000, and then you have to build a house. So if two families can go in and split the cost of the land and build a duplex, housing will be cheaper. Or if 3 or 4 families can go, housing can be cheaper. So you can basically build a quadplex, 4 houses for $250,000 each instead of having one single family house for $1 million. So it's kind of a housing affordability issue where allowing people to split the cost of land and often build a little bit smaller houses drives housing prices down.
But you can't talk about density though without addressing public transit. City leaders fighting the good fight and getting some progress in the last few years, but they've run into a lot of problems getting approvals from state lawmakers. What should city leaders, in your view, be doing differently?
Honestly, I think right now we're on a really good track. The purchase of the O line, the red line was a huge win and something that's been a long time coming for the city of Charlotte. Hopefully we can kind of follow what we did along the blue line and get some transit oriented development and you might get more neighborhoods kind of like South End, like Noda, where I live, that pop up and give people the chance to kind of live in more dense neighborhoods and still quickly connect in and out of the city. So I'm hoping to see something like that pop up on the Red Line, and then hopefully if we can get the transit funding in the future, we can get transit lines going in different directions and keep development strong right along those lines, especially.
You work at Camp North, and where do things stand with getting a station there for the Red Line?
I mean, we're not sure. I've heard a lot of people asking for it. I think it would be amazing for the city if we do get it, because here at Camp North End, we're going to build anywhere between 1,500 and kind of 2,500 apartments over the next decade or so. So there's going to be a lot of people living here in Camp North End.
I want to ask you about Camp North End because it's been nationally acclaimed for creating use of old, cavernous, expansive warehouses. But we've also seen a lot of businesses leave in the last few months, or there have been a turnover and change. I assume you are still very confident in its long-term health.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, small business is difficult, and we've seen businesses close in different parts of Charlotte. I don't think it's anything specific to Camp North End. I would say, though, what we try to do here at Camp North End is give the little guy a shot. So you don't see McDonald's at Camp North End, for example. We're giving like the little local people, not little, but the small local operators a shot. And I think that's just inherently more risky than a McDonald's. If you wanted something to never ever close, you would get McDonald's and Walmart and Taco Bell, which is fine, but I think that's not what we're trying to create. So there's just a little bit more ups and downs with that. And we love that we're able to, if you come here, one of my neighbors owns the plant shop, one of my friends owns the coffee shop, and it's real people that own these businesses and are here every day, Charlotteans, so I love that we're able to give those people a shot, and we celebrate the wins with them. And when it doesn't go well, we do our best to make sure that they kind of land soft and get the next thing in life.
Where do you see things with Camp North in the next 2 years, the next 5 years?
Next 2 years, well, we got apartments about to open up right now, so that's kind of the next big thing, and then also just signing office leases too. Camp North End is a 24/7 community once we get our apartments, so office space, restaurants, little shops, and apartments. So filling that up with people during the day, office space, and at night with apartments is going to be great. And then 5 years, hopefully more housing. We're 1 mile away from uptown Charlotte here. Hopefully a stop on the Red Line in the future. So I think it's kind of a great place to build more housing and give more people access to all the amenities that the city of Charlotte has to offer.
All right, Tesho Akindele. Follow him, despite his wife's misgivings, on Twitter and X. Always something interesting to say. Tesho, thanks so much for coming on. We do appreciate it. Up next, right here on Flashpoint, we talk to a group who thinks they may have the solution to the housing crisis here in North Carolina.